What if equals to fear, even if equals to faith. Very often, our words can really show us where we're at, whether we're operating from fear or from faith. So, really take notice of what kind of words and sentences run through your mind. Do you tend to think, what if I do X, Y, and Z? Or do you think to yourself, even if I will still do X, Y, and Z? It's just a subtle shift that can really help you move from fear and into faith. When you live from a sense of faith, then it's as if the fear, it can still be there, but you observe it and you take action regardless. So even though that you might have lots and lots and lots of thoughts that are saying and coming up with all of these excuses or coming up with all of these kind of things that are limiting you, that you believe in, you're still taking action. You're still having faith. So it's a very subtle shift there, right? Now, in the Bible, what I was so surprised to find was that when it comes to fear and basically saying, do not be afraid, that is mentioned 365 times in the Bible. And I do not believe that that is a coincidence at all. I believe that this is just another way to say that even though that you will be afraid, even if you will be afraid, you will have God there. You will be able to rely on Him as you are proceeding with your life, right? And this is something that we need to remember every single day of the year. If it says do not be afraid every single day of the year, then it might mean that there are reasons to be fearful every single day, right? But that doesn't mean that we let that fear stop us. We act upon it. So think about that. If it's mentioned 365 times, do not be afraid, that is a powerful signal for us to lean into faith. There are two other scriptures that I wanted to share with you that really talks about fear here. First of all, this one from John 4:18. It says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love." Right? And then the next one says in Psalm 34 to 4 to 8, "I sought the Lord, and He answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. Those who look to Him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame." So if I let that sink in, and I encourage for you to also let that sink in, what this is saying is that fear is there, yes, but when you look to God, you are constantly radiant. You're constantly living from a place of light, even if the fear is there, even if there are reasons to be fearful, even though that there might be people that are not supportive of you, or there are different financial reasons that are blocking you, or if there are fears about failure or anything like that. When you walk in faith and not in fear, your face is radiant and you never walk in shame, right? And then on when it comes to faith, it says in Matthew 21:22, "And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith." And I mentioned the other day that, when you ask, you shall receive. When you knock, the door shall be open. And that's the thing here. If you have faith, it is promised when you act on the faith, right? And then in Luke 1:37, it says, "For nothing will be impossible with God." And in 2 Corinthians 5:7, it says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." That is so powerful to me, because faith is an invisible source of power and energy, right? We can't necessarily see it, but you are walking not by what you see or don't see around you, but you're walking with a sense of faith in what is promised, in what is possible. You look for the possibilities rather than what is impossible. Yes, things will be impossible if you don't walk with God, with faith. But when you walk with God, you have a totally different level of connection to Source, to God, right? And it really frees you if you think about it, that when you don't walk by sight anymore, what do you walk with? Because so often we tend to look around ourselves and we tend to look at what we don't have, and we come up with all sorts of rationalizations for why it is that we cannot do something, why things are impossible. But if you think that things are impossible, then that is typically because you're looking by sight. You're walking by sight and not by faith. So that was a message that I wanted to share with you today. Again, move your language from what if to even if I will do X, Y, and Z, right? And in that way, you will be able to bridge the gap from fear to faith. And remember, faith does not mean that you don't have fear, but faith means that even if there is fear, you still follow through. Even if there are still things there that are saying, oh no, that's impossible, you are still acting upon it because you have faith. So if you'd like to move from living from fear to living in faith, even if there is fear, then I encourage you to come into the garden community, where we really are all about being able to shift that mentality from what if to even if I will still do it. Because in that way, you are living not by sight, but by faith. So you can go to the link in bio on Instagram to learn more about this garden community that I'm setting up. Or you can go to bloombeyond.com/waitlist, and I'm looking forward to being able to maybe see you inside so we can grow in faith together. Because one thing is for sure, and that is that if you surround yourself with other people that are on this path of living in this way, it will basically show you'll be able to see around you that there are other people going through the same philosophical questions in life, and that are going on that journey of faith. And that is so important when you are sort of waking up to how fear has taken root hold in your life, so that when you see that community around you, it really produces a sense of faith to pursue what God has put on your heart. So again, if you want to go to bloombeyond.com/waitlist to put yourself on the wait list. And now I'm going to go inside. I'm a digital jungle in Tulum right now, and there's like lots of mosquitoes here. So I'll be going inside, and looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Lots of love.